Hello there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel and to today's very important video. If you've got your ACCA Financial Management, that's the F9 paper, we're going to be walking and talking through the key syllabus areas and topics that you need to know for your exam. So pen and paper at the ready. I know just the gentleman who's going to walk and talk us through everything you need to know. So make sure you stay to the end of the video. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. Sunil, welcome back to the channel, and thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you for the invite back. Thank you very much. Good. Looking forward to helping the FM students stream the paper.
Indeed,
stream that paper.
They're clearly looking forward to AFM as well. But the bottom line today is let's get stuck into FM. They've got the pen and papers at the ready. What are the bottom line topics that are an absolute must that you need to know going into this exam?
Well, we know the syllabus is broken down into 7 structured areas, but you talked about what are the key topics. So which are the ones that can be tested across everywhere, A, B, and constructive response? And you would start with investment appraisal for sure.
Yeah.
So investment appraisal, NPV, IRR, with sensitivity, with what is going to be capital rationing, asset replacement, lease buy, all of those. That would certainly be topic number 1. Right, that's ranked topic number 1 for sure. Yeah, a must, right? Then, second, but not a poor second, topic number 2 would be business finance and cost of capital. And I'd like to emphasize it's business finance and cost of capital, not just cost of capital. Now, I think candidates find that area an area they have to spend extra time on. Yes, it's got WACC in it, it's got cost of equity, cost of debt. It's also got risk-adjusted cost of equity, a D-gear, re-gear calc involved in that. It's got capital structures in there. So the theories of gearing come into play there. But I would also like to mention here that sometimes you get this question that's dropped into the paper, and the student goes, "Oh, well, it's not WACC. What's going on here?" And that's when they say, do a little forecast of the earnings for next year. Tell me what the EPS is now. What's the EPS next year? And then they'll give you a little PE ratio, which they've borrowed from the business valuation part of the syllabus. And then say, could you tell me what the share price was and what the share price will be? And I think you've got to keep in mind that things like, rights issues and all of that is all part of what is going to be business finance. So that'd be category number 2. And then category number 3 is working capital management, including working capital finance. And with working capital management, you've got general working capital management, which includes the operating cycle. Inventory control, which is predominantly EOQ, but not exclusively EOQ. You've got receivables management, which I think is the one that's the most challenging, I think, receivables management when it comes to the section C questions. I think the sometimes, and this is not a criticism, it's an observation, that I always think that I like to take a little bit of a longer cash flow approach to make it easier, rather than sometimes you see approaches which are a bit shorter, but sometimes more confusing, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
Got to be flexible.
So you've got, you've got to be flexible. So receivables management. You've got within there, then you've got obviously payables management, cash, including the models, cash budget, Baumel, Miller-Orr, and then you've got working capital finance. Working capital finance as part of working capital management. I always think that with working capital questions, I call them, maybe it's a horrible name, but it's a name I use. I call them bit questions, because they're a little bit of this and they're a little bit of that and they're a little bit of the other. Right? So you wouldn't expect the full question on inventory. You'd say 1/3 of it, or maybe 40% of it would be inventory. And then there'll be something else that's going to be attached to it. So you'd say they are the big 3. They're definitely the big 3 topics. So investment appraisal, business finance, cost of capital, and then what is going to be working capital management and finance. They're the big 3 you would expect to see tested. 2 out of 3 in constructive response area.
Nice. Okay. And to answer that, I mean, how are ethics are sort of embedded in? I mean, that's another area I always get sort of questions on.
Yeah, I think when you look at the topics I've not mentioned, right? So let's look at the topics I've not mentioned there, right? So I mentioned three. I said the seven. You've got FM function, which is to do with objectives and value for money.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be tested predominantly at section A and B. You've got FM environment, which I'd ask all students to note that for September, we have one new syllabus area, which is fintech. So fintech has come into FM environment. FM environment was predominantly, monetary policy, economic policy, the money markets, capital markets. That generally has appeared in section A and B. So I've then skipped the middle three, and then you've got what's left. You've got business valuation, assets, earnings, dividends for shares, along with what is going to be the DVM approach, not the DVM, but the DVM approach, present value of future cash flows for bonds and preference shares. And then finally, you've got risk management. But risk management has got the definitions of currency risk, translation, transaction, economic, calculations of forward contract and money market hedge, and only written on the others. And then interest rate risk, only calc is a FRA, forward rate agreement. So those other areas generally are in section A and B rather than, them floating into
different
C.
areas on there. So you've got to be definitely adaptable. And I had a few FM students who were in touch with me and like, James, we sat the exam. And there were just some areas which we've not even seen much in the syllabus on there. I mean, it's so wide, this syllabus, that they can test you on. Don't get thrown off that in the exam, if you see a little sentence or 2 mark or whatever it is, and you go, oh my word, I'm really not sure about that. Reasonable approach, apply your knowledge and apply back to the scenario to try and nick a mark or so.
And if I can say this as well, we know that section A is worth, is worth 30 marks. Section B is worth 30 marks, and you've got 2 questions effectively worth 20 each. But again, James knows that I take quite a radical view to exam timing. The old 1.8 minutes per mark, right? I'm just not into, right? I go, let's base this on logic here and experience, right? So I would say I would adopt an approach called Call the Cab. I wrote an article called Call the Cab, which is CAB. Do section C first, then A, and then B, and make the exam 4 lots of 45 minutes. So 45 minutes on Q31 or 32, which is section C. 45 minutes on the other question, Q1, Q32. Yeah. And then effectively do section A next. And very last of all, you do section B, because my experience tells me that students struggle more on B than any other section. Yeah. So you really need to make sure. Ironically, section C is the easiest section. Section C is the easiest section. I'd also say this about section C, 2 things I'd like to advise on. Which I've not been seeing, right? I'd strongly advise on this, right? 2 candidates. Please use the functions available to you on the spreadsheet. You have got an MPV function. You get all the cash flows. When you're ready, you then say cost of capital is 12%, equals MPV, bracket 12%, comma, all the flows T1 to T4, close bracket, add on the capex, which is a negative. That's how you do it. Pop it in. The markers mark your cell. They mark the cell. They can see the cell, right? The other one is the internal rate of return function, the IRR function. When you're doing a cost of debt for redeemable debt, do not do the old table and then do an IRR. Don't bother with that. Just literally go negative for your market value, post-tax interest for the future years, redemption at the end, equals IRR, highlight them, hit enter, answer. Bang. And I think students are not using them because I think they're a little bit worried. Oh, the markers, won't see those. Yes, they will. That's the functions on there. It's there to help you. I won't deny. I'm not saying you don't need to know the longer method for things like IRR, but that's going to be tested in A and B, not going to be tested in C. They're looking for the shorter method.
Exactly. Yeah, the formulas always be there. They'll
always be there.
It's
and some feedback I've received in the last 3 sittings. Yeah. And this is predominantly to do, I think, with, and especially in the last couple of sittings, when now we have remote invigilation as an option, and we have exam center as an option. Now I am not. This is not the platform here on this presentation. Which one should you do? That's up to you, or what you can do. But keep in mind that remote invigilation, you have Scratchpad, and in the exam centres you have pen and paper. And keep that in mind, right? Now the ACCA are aware of that. The exams are aware of that. So what you're finding in A and B sections is the questions are becoming a little bit more, James, written based or theory based. Which of these statements is correct? Which of these is incorrect? Pick 2 out of these 3. And I think those are awkward. You know, a student said to me, if you get one of the 2 right and the other one's wrong, do you get 1 mark? Sorry, no, you don't. You lose the 2.
Yeah.
And when you look at your practicing your questions on A and B, look at why you got it wrong, not the ones that you got right. The ones you got wrong, you need to know why you got it wrong, right? You know, often it's the misreading of one word.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the section A as well, where you misread it, and if you just put the wrong answer, or if you got the wrong sort of misinterpretation of it, that's it. It's not on there, I'm afraid, for that one.
That's why starting with section C is great, because if you got something wrong, you get OFR, you get own figure rules. You're going to be fine. You know, you get the wrong MPV, you make the right statement. You know, you're gonna pick up the marks. You know, so it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, just another thing as well for candidates, please don't make your written comments too brief. You know, you cannot just say MPV positive accept. That is not allowable anymore. You know, what would I say, right? What would Sunil say? I go with a standard statement. I start by saying, if the MPV is positive, then shareholder wealth would rise, full stop. We should accept the project. The fact I've used the word if covers all evils. Because if I haven't got the MPV right or right, it doesn't make any difference. I've said if.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm covered. So, and I've made 2 sentences.
Yeah, well, and
that's what
also for students who maybe this is their first time they're doing FM, it's a big step up if you've just done, say, the management accounting, financial accounting ones. So you've got to be using those examiners reports, the technical articles, the free resources on ACCA's website. It is a step up, and not many students work in financial management, wealth management sort of thing. So you've really got to embed it. So 2 best approaches are applying it to a company or applying it to yourself on there. Whatever works best. Application for this exam is really, really key to understand.
I think you would find, James, that most candidates who've gone through applied skills, if they said to you what were the 2 papers that challenged them the most, they would generally say it would be PM and FM. I think they would generally say that. I know my colleague Jo is brilliant at PM, and you know, she'll sail you through, and brilliant on YouTube and all the rest of it, right? And you know, Joe Tuffle, brilliant. So, but we would both me and Joe would say that these 2, when we get candidates through, and for the exact reason that you said, James, they don't work in FM. They haven't worked in that environment. And for that reason, and why should they? You know, you're in, for example, where I live in the West Midlands in the UK, you're not going to get too much FM experience. If you're working in the city of London, you might well do.
Exactly.
It's horses for courses, as we say.
Exactly. But it's just finding that method that to take the syllabus, take those key concepts, and then applying it that you can understand and digest that information a bit better. But Sunil, is there anything, my friend, that is lingering on your mind that you couldn't sleep tonight for FM, a big topic, syllabus areas that the student could make the difference in them getting a pass?
Yeah, I would ask them to, you know, when they do, you know, that they're doing, for example, the section A questions and section B questions, right? Especially, please hunt them in a manner that matches what you're going to do on the day, right? So, you know, pick 15 random questions out of an exam book, right? You don't know what they are, just pick the numbers. Ask your wife to do it, or your partner. Pick up these numbers from here, and then you write them all down. You don't know what's there. Go there and do those questions in exam time. right? Do those questions in exam time, right? So I would say to read to my wife, right? Here's the sections. Pick 1 to 10, 15 to 30, whatever. Pick the numbers across the syllabus, and then I'll go in and go, have a go, right? And that way you go, I don't know what I'm being faced with. Let's see.
Exactly.
And that way you'll pick up what's going to happen on the day of the exam. And that's talking about section A, yeah, predominantly, yeah. In section B, similar thing can be done, yeah, in terms of approach. On C, please use the practice platform.
Completely agree.
Please use the practice platform.
Yeah, practice, practice, practice. Make mistakes. Note down where you went wrong. Try them again. More practice on there. It's just so paramount, and the CV.
Oh, well, I mean, come John, you're a runner, and I've been a previous runner. I'm starting after an injury. I'm starting back. I've just started running. I've just got the sanctions to start running. I won't call it running actually. I'll call it an old man jog at the moment. It's not the pace I'm happy with, but at least I'm out there. At the age of 60, I'm happy to be, doing 5-6K in the morning. So I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. So, but and I know when you're practicing for a run, you're doing a half marathon or 10K. What do? You try to simulate the event.
Build it up.
You try to build it up, and you try to simulate that event.
Exactly.
You try to
get your kit on and get out there and get stuck into it on there. But
you can't just say, tell you what, I'll just turn up and I'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, there'll be syllabus areas in FM that people will struggle on, but to use the running analogy, it is a marathon and not a sprint on these sort of things. So it's a case of, for today, if you've got any questions for Sunil or myself, leave us a comment below. I've put all the Sunil details down there, the free resources we've talked about in today's video. And I can just say, Sunil, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Best of luck, guys, with your examination. If you want
good luck.
Free videos, just subscribe, give it a like as well. And Sunil and I would love to hear how you got on. Leave us a comment, what mark you got if you're resitting, and then that could be the difference. And for any running analogies you would like to put on there. But yeah,
anything.
Thank you again to my guest Sunil from all of his tips and insights today, guys. He's going to go away, get his running shoes on now, and scare the neighbours.
Scare the neighbours. Get out there. Get out there.
If you're in Birmingham, watch out, anyone. But I'll see you next time. Cheers.